So we're in 2026 now, and I can't lie. I had a stinker of a year in this channel, I would admit. I think I just lost the love for watching movies, and I only watched like 20 new releases from the year. And only two of those movies I rewatched them. So in tradition, I will give you like maybe my top 20, but I'm gonna cut it to my top 10. And see, this is my list. If you disagree with anything I say, that's fine. I have a reason for everything to be where it's at, and obviously I haven't watched a ton of movies, so some things might just be higher than there should be. So, for my small pool of films, these are my favorite movies of 2025. And I'm going to start with Fantastic Four First Steps as my number 10. Recently, I feel like it's just a trend to hate everything Marvel. I've said this a million times. Because I think most of us are just burnt out with the idea this entire formulaic churning out the same type of movies. But I feel like for two of the movies that came out this year, one being Fantastic Four First Steps, and this was one of the only films I rewatched, the other one being Superman. And unlike that, I think the second viewing still resonated with me as the first. It's a good film, nothing amazing. And I feel like we always keep on saying, oh, Marvel's back, Marvel's back. I've been saying that since like freaking Shang-Chi. So, like, at what point do we agree that they're in just this yo-yo state of making a good movie, they're making a mid movie, they're making a bad film? And this is one of, in my opinion, the good ones. I love scenes with Galactus, but at the same time, he was not really a great villain in terms of doing a lot in the film, which honestly isn't a problem as we got the Silver Surfer for most of what this film was. And she worked. I like Reed Richards and Sue, and I think I would love to see more of them in anything Marvel, I guess. And I also think we didn't get enough Benny from my memory, but see, it's fine. This movie was nothing new, and it had no really major grounds to mess up with anything that I did, so it gets a pass for me. And for my number 9, I have Weapons, which I feel I got oversold. Like, best way I could describe this is that it felt like Long Legs from last year, but this to me is a better movie. The build up from the hype, they're always like, oh, this is going to be the scariest movie that you've watched ever, but really never ends up being that. But I was expecting this to be like a top 5 contender, not being bottom 10. Like, if I watched some other movies, it's probably even been lower. But I love the storytelling in this film, and I think the movie does a really good job at switching perspectives and telling different points of the story, and it all just ties up to be this one well-narrated story. And all of that also just helps to raise up the tension of this movie. And this movie could have been higher for me, but I did watch it with friends, and we all agreed that it did start up like really slow, and even also aspects in the middle. But yeah, it all paid off at the end. And I also understand that yes, your movie, sometimes you need to have an imagination of your own sometimes. But I just felt like some stuff happened towards the end and I just wanted to see more. But that's fine. Definitely a movie I really love this year, but just preferred everything else above it. Then I have Thunderbolt as my number 8. This is one of the very, very few movies I have a special review for, so you could go watch that. But I think I talked more of the stuff I hated about that movie rather than stuff I did like, which was I love the characters, each and every one, even Taskmaster. But obviously, characters like Yelena, they take the spotlight. I think she's great. The whole team dynamic, as I said again, it really suits this film. I feel it's unfair to compare this to like Fantastic Four, as most of these characters have already gotten that chance to build up like a character for themselves in other media. But I still have to give the movie praise because even characters like Ghost, which I understand people will say like, oh, she didn't have, like, she's a side character at the end of the day, but I feel like they still managed to do something for that character. And I think the whole film was a bit fantastic. And this is one of the films that like I'm surprised that I have not rewatched because it was really, really good. Okay, and for my number 7 pick, hand to my chest. I do this list as the year goes by, and I don't really remember much about Mickey 17 if I will be honest. But I remember I watched this film with a friend and we both loved it. But from what I can remember, I love the film's world building and how it sets you up in this future that we're looking to like inhabit a planet. A lot of films have done it, but I remember that particularly compare this film with Wall-E because it did feel like that in like, for me, in the surface. I don't know. And also the storytelling with the flashbacks and the narration that I really did enjoy. Mark Ruffalo's character did do a bit of overacting, which reminded me of his character from Poor Things, as well as Nasha playing Naomi. Was happy to see her again from Blink Twice. I remember I was in awe with her chemistry with Mickey 17 and 18. Remember that was really good, as well as my favorite white boy, Robert Pattinson, giving us one of his best dual acting roles of the year, and we saw a lot. And I'll rephrase this again. I do this list as the year goes by, and the movie just ended up being this high up here. I don't remember too much about it, but I'm sure I have a good reason for me believing it's this high, outside of the fact that I watched nothing else this year. But Ballerina, I remember I loved this film. Been hyping this movie for years, and another John Wick movie is in my top 10. But honestly, this movie is more than just a John Wick film. Ana de Armas makes this role hers. And as I said in my review, which you should watch, this film is naturally, it's not going to change your life with no narrative or anything. It's just a movie that you enjoy, and each installment just tops itself with creativity, and it's no different here. Nothing much to say about Chad Stahelski. He saved this movie. And yeah, it was worth the delay. And I know another soulless remake. Honestly, the most soulless remake you can probably watch, because this is in fact what this movie is. They make no changes to the story. Yes, they add a couple things. The runtime's a bit longer, but realistically, that is what you want from a remake, especially considering that the director came back. There are definitely positive changes to the story here, like Astrid actually doing something for most of the film. How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favorite trilogies of all time, and if you're just going to improve on that, it's guaranteed to be one of my best movies of the year, and that's what this movie is. Then I have everybody's favorite film, Sinners, as my number 4. And to be fair, as I've said like countless times, most of these movies I've only watched it once, and I've not watched this film since its release back in April. So honestly, my opinion literally cannot change from then. But from what I remember, I did love the opening film. I compared this film to Talk to the Hand, Talk to Me, that I watched 2 years ago, in terms of how I love that the way both films just started. It carries you in this like world with the characters, and you forget it's a horror film for most of the start. But just that opening, it makes you feel like you're with the characters, seeing how they live and how they're planning this night and what you think their future will be. It just helps to carry this film really well. I remember I did have a problem with the film's conclusion, but really, I am always hard to please when it comes to like the end of movies. But regardless of that, I think that could not prevent this movie from being like top 5 best movies of the year for me, in my opinion. And it might sound crazy to have Mission Impossible Final Reckoning up here, but hear me out. Same as Sinners and same as a bunch of movies here, I can only base this on my initial watch. And this does have the added bit of the fact that I grew up with this franchise, the first 6 or 7 films. But best way I could describe this is that this Mission Impossible film is the equivalent to No Time to Die. I think No Time to Die is a better story, but the way this movie wrapped up Ethan's story to its best ability and just made it a fun experience. I remember that it was a really exhilarating film to watch, where there are problems in this film, 100%. They are like, this movie is flawed to the max, but I will be biased and looked over those problems because I really had a fun time watching this. I described this as the most fun Mission Impossible film I have watched, and that's not an easy thing for me, considering how much I highly rate Ghost Protocol on that front, but I stand with it, and this is my 3rd favorite film of the year. Then, as the nerd I am, I have put Superman as my 2nd film of the year. And I watched this film twice, so I think I'm sure about this one. I just love this film because it's a comic book film brought to life, and actually is good at that, in my opinion at least. I will also be honest, this movie doesn't do anything special. It's not my favorite superhero film, not even my favorite James Gunn superhero film, not close. But as someone that grew up with a ton of DC shows, games, all of these things from when I was a little kid till now, it's just good to finally see my favorite characters being done well, not the disservice that we've been seeing, and finally seeing the building blocks to having the chance to let them all work out just makes me love this film way more. Seeing Lex actually being Lex, seeing a proper Chloe's relationships makes me happy. Seeing a version of a Justice League that looks functional, seeing some sort of Green Lantern again for what is it, like almost 2 decades. This movie being good, being what it is it's more than that for me, and it was just a joy to watch that. I watched like almost 3 times this year, and I enjoyed it each and every time, and it's the most fun I had watched this year. But yeah, my favorite film of the year is one battle after another because it's a really good movie. What else can I say? I never even wanted to watch this film, but the TikTok hype got to me. I haven't even seen, I have seen Paul Thomas Anderson films in the past, but I haven't really liked any. I watched parts of Punk Drunk Love. I stopped halfway because I didn't really enjoy it. I watched Boogie Nights a couple years ago. It wasn't bad, it was just meh for me. But this movie changed my life, and I have to be serious. Great performances all around. Never got boring from start to finish. Deep messaging within it from both sides. And I love satires. From start to finish, this movie is an enthralling cinematic ride you will never get tired of. Even even for 3 hours of its long time, this film is just, I've been pushing my friends to watch it. They don't want to watch it, but I'm going to force them. It's funny, it's bone clenching, it's action packed, it's fun, and that's why it's my movie of the year. It's an amazing film, and I'm happy that it's somehow like, I don't think he's going to make money, but I'm happy that it didn't lose too much money. I'm happy for the success it's getting. But yeah, that's my dead list of the top 10 films that I love this year. I really need to start watching more movies next year. Hopefully I can. I spend most of my time watching TV shows, if I'm being honest, but the Everything I Watched in a Month videos will be back this year, hopefully, which should force me to make more videos and watch more movies. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a nice 2026. Mine is not started the best, but fingers crossed. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.